Hi, and welcome to the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. My name is Gabriella, and I'm coming to you from my home in Germany, where I live with my husband and our daughter and her little cat. And it's been such a while since I've sat down and chatted with you about knitting and crafting and all that I've made. We just got home a few days ago from our trip to the US as a family, which was just so wonderful and so special, and I'm going to share more about that with you later on in the episode. But I'm excited to share with you all that I've been making and knitting. I've done quite a bit of knitting. I would say the last 3 weeks I've made progress on a couple of things, but primarily I've made, started, and completed or new projects. I don't really have a finished object to show you, despite it being such a long time since my last real proper podcast update, but I still have some things to show with you and share with you. And it's interesting because I didn't expect that I would have like a knitting lull in the summer. I've just been loving knitting all the time. I haven't been really doing other crafts this whole year, and last year too. I mean, I would say, yeah, I've experimented here and there with little things, but mostly I've been really just loving knitting and knitting alone. I have hardly spun in the last year, which is unusual for me. I usually go through like a spinning phase every year where I just spin a lot and I enjoy that. And then I knit what I've spun, or things like, sometimes I just go through different phases where just different crafts. And I definitely love all kinds of crafts and all kinds of handmade things. But this year has just been a knitting year. So I didn't expect that to stop or change, and it has not changed or stopped at all. I'm definitely still, knitting is my very first love right now. But I have a couple of other things to show you, and I've kind of been experimenting. It's not that I've gone through a knitting lull, but it's been a shift in my knitting kind of practice. And probably a lot of that has to do with the fact that I was traveling and I was just away, At home I have my kind of crafting and knitting schedule. I have the times that I knit, and they're pretty much daily or weekly. I have specific times that I have little moments that I pick up the needles and work. And then I have, longer stretches of time throughout the week that I get, and I look forward to sitting and working on a project and kind of making a dent in a project. I don't know how it is for you. I'd love to hear how you do that. If you have kind of, a knitting routine or a knitting rhythm, you could say, that you kind of have just ingrained in your daily life and your daily habits. Because I know every day, most of the time, when Esmeralda takes a nap, that's time for me to be creative. I love to be creative or to work on some project. During that time, I try to avoid distractions. I try to get all of my regular work done. I work as an English teacher, so that's pretty easy. I do that online, which is a really cool thing, because that's very separate from, it's not like a freelance job I've had before. I've done other work like translation and stuff, which kind of you have to be completely self-disciplined and integrate that into your life. But that's completely separate from my time that I have, being a mother and a homemaker. So all of my household work I try to finish kind of before her nap time. And after, I try to get all the cleaning, all the cooking, all the organizational things done in that time, so I don't have to clean while she's napping or cook while she's napping. And I do outings with her while she's awake. We go out of the house, we run errands, we see friends when we can, all when she's awake. And then when she's asleep, I try to utilize that time for other things. And so I usually know at least a couple times a week I have a good 2-hour chunk in the middle of the day where I can just be creative or knit or brainstorm or do whatever I want. So that's always a very faithful part of my day or week. And then when she goes to bed, my husband Nick and I often sit down and spend time together or watch something together, or just have time that's kind of leisurely. And usually after kind of get closing things up for the night in our home, exercising, I love to just knit for an hour or two then as well. So it's kind of like I have those regular times. And I don't know what it is, but I really think it's so interesting to hear people's daily routines and daily rhythms. So I'd really love to hear yours. If you have kind of a habitual times or moments that you pick up the needles or that you work on projects. I think it's just interesting, and it can also be inspiring, because I remember when I was younger and I was like, I don't have time to read. There was a phase where I kind of went through a reading rut and I didn't have time to read, and someone was just like, you have to use the small moments and the large moments to enjoy reading and to get into reading a book. And that helped me so much, because then I always had my book with me then. I would just take it with me everywhere. I still love to do that. So if there's like a moment, a spare moment, when you're waiting in a waiting room, or just there's so many little stolen moments throughout the day that you can pick up your book and read. And I think right now as a culture, we're definitely more inclined to take out our phone and, look at social media or just kind of look around on our phones. I know I'm inclined to do that. But if I have a book with me and I go for my book, I can really read a lot more, and it gets me more involved in the story, because I love to read fiction. So yeah, then I would be more excited and ready in my free hour to just keep reading instead of doing something else. But anyway, I digress. While I was traveling, the point is that while I was traveling, I just didn't have that regular rhythm anymore. I did do a decent amount of knitting, I would say, and it was just, it was just not in the same rhythm, but I still feel like I got some things done. All that to say, and I'm excited to share that with you. So I have a couple of different categories. I also have some kind of beautiful acquisitions, which I'm excited to share with you as well. Gorgeous acquisitions that were just really special pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my travel knitting and tell you a little bit about that. By the way, today I'm drinking some tea out of my beautiful teacup. It's so good to drink out of your own teacups. It's, again, like after being away from home, it's such a nice feeling. Although when I'm at my mom's house, there's something special about drinking out of her teacups as well. But this is a special one we got at a flea market a few years ago. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. And I'm drinking turmeric tea. It's really beautiful. It's like rosehip and turmeric and just delicious. So the first thing I'm going to share with you is my needle situation, because I was traveling. I flew to the States with just a carry-on bag. My husband and I just took carry-on luggage, no suitcases, like no checked luggage, and we like to do that. I've always liked to do that. I think it's just a nice way to travel. I love traveling light. I'm very strategic about what I pack, like as far as clothes go and everything like that, and I just stay really minimalistic, and it's fun. And with Esmeralda, our daughter, who's about almost 1.5, not quite, she's 16 months old. With her, it's also actually super easy. She has miniature clothes and they're easy to pack up, a few outfits. She does not need very much at all. And I even had a few toys for her for the airplane and everything like that. So we had fun doing carry-on. But the difficult thing about carry-on luggage is knitting needles. I've talked about this before, and I got some great tips as well. But I tend to just bring wooden needles to be safe, because I've almost lost needles while going through security, and it's just no fun to have to lose needles, precious needles. And I like quality needles. I have just one set of interchangeable needles, but then I have a few other, needles, and I like my needles. I'm attached to them, and it would break my heart to lose them. So I decided to bring wooden needles, and I brought two new projects that I was going to cast on for the trip and just keep for the trip. I didn't bring any works in progress with me. I don't know why, but I did that last time I traveled as well, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed having it's like it was something exciting to cast on. I know when I was a kid and we would go on any long drive or any plane ride, my mom would always have a new little treat, kind of like a little toy or a little sticker book or something for us for the road. And it was always so much fun to have this brand new thing to play with and to use. And I kind of feel like having a fresh project is like that for me when I go traveling. So I brought some yarn and I brought some needles. I brought a shawl project and a sock project, and both of these projects were supposed to be, or I guess still are, my very own personal designs, which I'm working on, which I really have enjoyed. So I brought these needles here. Actually, I did not bring these needles. I brought wooden needles that were a size, 3.5 millimeter US 4. And the needles that I brought with me were very special to me. They were wooden Knitter's Pride cubics nails. I think that's what they're called. I loved those needles. They were beautiful and they were so comfortable to knit with. I had a little bit of discomfort in my arm while knitting, and I've been warned that I need to really be careful with that and as soon as I feel any discomfort, to stop or to be careful and kind of lay off knitting. I've tried here and there to, while knitting stockinette, to knit continental to kind of change things up, but I don't want to create any kind of like long-term problem for myself, you know, with my muscles or with my tendons or like any kind of tennis elbow or anything, because I love knitting and I just don't want to stop. So yeah, I thought these cubits would be helpful. They were a gift from a dear friend of mine, and I brought them along with me, and they served me so well until a certain point where they broke. One of them snapped off. I tried to re-glue it, it didn't work, so I had to hop over to Joann Fabrics in the United States, which was actually so much fun because that Joann Fabrics is where I bought like first proper yarn and needles to knit with, and it was a very nostalgic experience to go there. So I was excited, and I bought these, I think these are Clover needles, same size, 3.5 millimeter, US 4. I was a little bit nervous about my gauge shifting, but what I was knitting with this was kind of like a huge swatch, so it was kind of fine if it shifted a little bit. It's not like a project where that was super important, but I was so excited to get these because just like they were on sale. Actually, I got them and I had the most pleasant surprise because as I went to the checkout, the cashier, they were like, "Oh, there's a coupon for these, just a moment." And they like opened up their phone and found the coupon and scanned the coupon for me. And I was so touched by that. I mean, I don't know if that's what they all do or if it was just this specific cashier, but it was so kind of them. And I was just so touched by that. I don't know. Then I saved like 50% off or like 40% off of the needles. So that was really fun and really cool. So yeah, these are my little needles I used, and I'll just tell you the project I used them for. So I'm designing my very own shawl pattern, which has been so much fun. I drew a design like a few months ago for a shawl that I wanted to knit. I haven't knit a shawl I guess I knit one in the kind of, maybe last year, kind of in the autumn of last year. I knit a shawl pattern, but it's been a long time since I've knit a shawl. So I really wanted to cast on a shawl and just, yeah, enjoy knitting a shawl. And I wanted to make my own design. I had kind of what I wanted I had in my mind, and I sketched it out like I said, and then I started to knit. I decided I would bring a skein of yarn to use as a mini prototype shawl. And for that little shawl, in this like mini prototype, I would kind of swatch out, use it as a swatch. Does that make sense? I'm not sure. You'll kind of see what I mean. But I wasn't sure I had kind of a theory about what kind of stitches I would use and kind of little miniature cables and lace. I had lots of inspiration. So I went ahead and just started to, and also like as far as numbers go, I needed to kind of work through that. And I did that with this little kind of swatch mini prototype shawl. And the shawl pattern I'm going to use is going to be bigger than this, but this is kind of my mini like mock-up version, although it is using the yarn that I'm going to be using for this design. And so I'm not going to show you the front because I want it to be a surprise, but this is the back. You can kind of get a hint of it. You can pretty much tell kind of what it's going to look like. So this is the wrong side of it, and it's going to be a beautiful triangular shawl with, it's pretty simple, pretty meditative, but also I think like it has like lots of lovely texture, and it's very soft and fluffy and just beautiful. I love it. I really am excited about how this turned out, and I'm excited to knit the real full pattern version before I then write it and give it to test knitters to work through before I release it into the world, and before I have my own version of the real proper shawl that I dreamt up. And I enjoyed this process so much. I'm knitting it using Juniper Moon Farms Herriot yarn, which is I think 100% baby alpaca, I think, and it's just the most luxurious, gorgeous yarn in the world. I love knitting with it. I'm a huge alpaca fan, and this baby alpaca is just so soft and fluffy and wonderful. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away because I want to really like talk about it with you when I'm finished with it properly, but there's just so much that I can say about it. I love the fabric that I got. I had practiced a little bit to see what kind of fabric I wanted for this shawl, like what kind of gauge I wanted for it before. That's how I also decided on these needles, because I really liked the fabric that it came out with. But anyway, that's what I worked on primarily. And with that, as you can imagine, there was a bit of ripping back. All of the little patterns on here, they all look different. Like I have a little bit of lace and all of them look different because I was experimenting, trying to get something. It's very simple lace, like the most basic, classic, kind of lace. But I wanted a little thing adjusted, and I had to experiment a lot to get what I wanted across the rows. In the end though, I'm just so pleased. I can't wait to have it finished. And this little prototype version, I thought I would give Esmeralda as her little mini shawl. I think little shawls, like triangular shawls, or like kind of traditional looking shawls, are so cute on children. I don't know what it is, but like a little girl with a little like triangular shawl is just so cute to me. I think that's such a cute thing. And it's such a cozy, warm, luxurious thing for her. So I'm really excited to have that, to share that with her. And she'll kind of have this little prototype version for herself. So that was my main project. And as you can see, that's not very much for over 3 weeks of knitting. But, if you're ripping back and kind of brainstorming and thinking a lot and writing things down, it makes sense that that was the primary thing I worked on. I also brought sock yarn and sock needles to work on socks, but I hardly touched them. I was kind of in the thick of summer sock camp, really, really into it, and I loved working on summer sock camp this year. And I'm still, it's not over yet actually. I think it goes to August, but I felt a little bit like sad because I don't know, I kind of like lost my mojo on socks when I traveled. I think it's because of what I brought with me. So I wanted to make a little pair of colorwork socks. And actually I have the most, I like wrote up a really cute, very simple chart, but I just didn't have like the desire at all to work on colorwork socks in any way. I just did not want to work on them. I don't know why, it just wasn't calling my name. So I have this, I think I even started this cup before I left, but I have these two yarns, yarn colors. These are both Jawoll yarns, 75-25 sock yarn, and I'm really in love with this yarn. I think it feels really soft and really lovely, and it's just a cool, lovely sock yarn, and they have a huge array of colors. I also think for colorwork socks, it's ideal. Inside of each little ball, they have something very special, a special surprise. It's kind of like a surprise, like Kinder Surprise eggs, but for yarn. No, it's not really. It's actually not a surprise because you always know it's in there. But they have this little reinforcement yarn thread inside each ball. So you can see it's inside there and you can pull it out. And then you have this reinforcement yarn, which is really amazing. And I think it's cool. It maybe makes it a little bit more strong and sturdy, your heels and your toes. And I'm excited to finish a pair of socks with this because I think it's just super cool and super cute. So I had these two colors and I wanted to make kind of like a raspberry inspired pair of socks, but in the end I just only got the cuff and started to do like some random things, and then I totally read my chart wrong, so I did it wrong, which is like it was the most, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's like the most basic chart. It's also like minimal color work actually in like the design that I sketched out, but I just didn't feel like doing it at all. So maybe that will change and maybe I'll pick those up. But right now I'm not that inspired by these. I'm gonna kind of leave them on the side. As far as needles, I brought these wooden Clover needles. They're Clover again, and I love these little miniature 9-inch circulars that are just, these are US 1, I'm pretty sure. So little sock needles, and I love these for traveling. I think these are my favorite like travel needles because they're so compact, so small. If you enjoy knitting with 9-inch circulars, these are amazing because if you are on the plane, like they go through security, no problem. And I just feel like your stitches are super secure on them. And it's not in any way cumbersome. It just takes up a small compact space. You can easily take your project out, have it on your lap and knit, and it's like just very discreet to knit with these. And I don't know, I thought they're just the perfect sock needles for traveling, and especially for plane traveling or train traveling, just to have them with you and have a little discreet project. Because sometimes I feel like I don't really, on a plane or something, I don't really want to take out a big project and work on it. It's just so cumbersome. If there are people near you, it's not nice. Right now, there's lots of space, which is very nice. On planes and trains, there's like, a lot of space between us still, which is a gift. But even still, I don't know what it is, but I like to take out a little discrete project and work on it. If we're in the car, totally different story. I'll take out any project and work on it in the car. I love knitting in the car, and I love knitting on big things in the car. But for planes and trains, I love that little miniature circumference. It's just very practical. So those are my traveling projects. And as you see, that feels like such a small amount. But I have a couple of other things to share with you as far as knitting goes, because I did get some knitting done before I left, and I wasn't able to record a podcast in the week before I left. So I have a bit to show you with that. The first thing I'll share with you is this sock, one single sock, which I had been knitting for summer sock camp. Like I showed you last, I had the cuff, and in the week before I left, I just completed the sock. This was, I think, the first time in a very long time that I've done an afterthought heel. I have done an afterthought heel before, but this is the first time in a very long time. And I really enjoyed that part of this pattern. And I only have one of these socks though, because this went a little bit wrong, this sock. So this was knit out of the Opal sock yarn, and their Hundertwasser kind of line of colorways. Hundertwasser is an artist, and he made lots of beautiful artworks that are very colorful and which very easily and wonderfully inspired a ton of Opal sock yarn colorways. And this colorway is called Autobus Fenster, which means bus window. So that was really a fun colorway name. I love it. I think it's just so funny, and also like such cool artwork. I've shared it before, but I'll put a picture of the artwork here so that you can see how it looks and kind of compare it to the sock yarn, because I think it looks like a very good rendition of the artwork. My husband Nick disagreed, which I don't understand, but I think it looks like a perfect rendition, perfectly inspired colorway. And the colorway was just so much fun to knit. I love Opal sock yarn. I think it's wonderful. I love colorways that are like these kind of self-striping, self-patterning colorways. They just keep me going. Like, honestly, if you've never knit with one before and you're in a rut, you just need to grab one of these sock yarns. They're very affordable sock yarns, and just knit. And it's so exciting to like see what's coming next, to watch the pattern emerge, to kind of anticipate the next color change. I loved knitting with this colorway. So that was a breeze, that was joyful. But I cast these on with 64 stitches, which is usually what I cast my socks on with. Although I'm thinking, I don't know if it's because my gauge has gotten looser, or because I think I prefer actually a little bit more fitted socks. I'm thinking about going down a stitch count or two for my own personal socks, because I don't know, all my socks that I've knit for myself with 64 stitches are all pretty loose around the cuff, or they loosen up. And I know a lot of my socks are knit with superwash sock yarn, so that does tend to stretch a bit, and it's not as, like regular wool. It's a little bit different because it's treated. So I don't know, they get a little loose around the cuff, and they kind of slouch down a bit on my ankle. I don't like that very much. I don't think I like that, so I'm thinking about going down a size or two. But I knit these and I noticed that the gauge was large. I had also knit them on these Clover bamboo needles. I had another pair of these and I had cast them on. I don't know why. I think I just had them there and I cast the sock on with those needles. But I don't know, it was just, I noticed the gauge was loose. And I was like, oh, I don't want a loose sock. And I had already decided to make this into a Afterthought heel sock, and I think I'd already knit past the heel, so they were already shorties. I really am like loving shorties. Ever since I knit this one pair out of this big, cotton tutti frutti yarn, I wear them all the time. I love them. I think they're so adorable. So I'm definitely in this like little shorty sock phase right now. I just think it's so cute because I often wear like jeans and sneakers, and if it peeks out a little tiny bit, like if hand knit socks peek out just a tiny bit, I think it's so cute. I don't know what it is. I think it's just like such a cute touch. So anyway, I had gone on, but I really felt the gauge was really loose. So I decided that I would knit them for Nick. I was like, Nick, would you wear this colorway? It's a little bit crazy. Not necessarily his palette as far as his clothing goes and his wardrobe, but I talked him into it. I have to say, I did talk him into it. Although I talked him into it, that's like kind of the key phrase here, because it wasn't that he was thrilled about this colorway or these socks. He just agreed and said, okay, I'll wear them, like, it's okay. He also really likes long cuffs. He does not like short cuffs. He does not like shorties. Ever. He does not like to wear it. He always wears long socks every season of the year, every month of the year. He does not like short cuffs at all. So he was just not that excited about that part of it, but I knew I'd have enough yarn for him because of the shorty, and he's got pretty large feet. He's got like a size 46, 47 European shoe size. Mostly like more 47 than 46, but sometimes it's hard to find 47 size shoes. So it's like a lot to knit for a sock, but it was only 46 stitches. So I was like, I'm just going to knit them for him, and he's going to have them, and he's going to wear them. If he's wearing jeans, he can just wear these socks. They'll keep his feet warm. So I kept knitting and knitting and knitting. And I knit it the proper length for him. I knit the afterthought heel for him. And I think there just is not and was not enough space with this afterthought heel. I did it like the pattern said, but it just looks tiny, and it was tiny. And the way it fits his foot is just not proper. It does not fit his foot well. It fits his foot. It's like tight, and because it's so short, the cuff is so short, it like tugs down a little bit, and it would definitely be wearable, but not ideal in any way. So I was a little bit disappointed by that, and really sad, because I love this colorway. I love everything about these socks, but they just weren't for him. And because he's so not into the colorway, I didn't cast on the second sock, and I kind of thought maybe this isn't going to be, maybe it's not meant to be. I don't know what I had planned afterwards. I guess right now, for me, if I'm honest with you, I don't really want to make anything with this yarn at the moment because it was just disappointing for me. And I have so many things that I want to make right now and work on. So these are not at the top of my priority list. I could see myself in summer or winter, summer or like spring, really craving this exact colorway. And I know that there are times where this exact colorway is like what I would crave the most. So I think I'm just going to wait for that moment, and I'm going to let this sit, and maybe I'll just end up ripping back the toe and dealing with it if it's a little loose, and just going ahead and casting off here and then knitting the second one for myself and keeping these for myself, because although they are loose, let me try it on just right now. They are loose, but they're actually okay. I mean, I'm trying it on as we speak, and honestly, it's not terrible. So if I cast them off and just rip back and then knit the toe for myself, I could see myself, I would have to like go back this far. I could see myself wearing these and enjoying them. And yeah, and honestly, the afterthought heel like goes by so quickly. When you just do an afterthought heel instead of a heel flapping gusset, I totally see the appeal of that construction, because it's just a breeze. It's such like a wonderful, mindless, lovely, like popcorn knitting kind of a potato chip knitting, what do they say, kind of relaxing project. And I love heel flap and gusset. I have to be honest, as of now, it's my very favorite construction for a heel. I love knitting it and I love wearing it, but the difference in like time and attention was pretty significant compared to this. So I comparing those two construction methods. So I totally see the appeal to this, and I think that it'll fit me well. I don't think it'll fit me poorly or anything, but anyway, that is my little sock project, my summer sock camp project, which I have kind of, abandoned. The next thing I want to show you though is my Elizabeth I. So I think going and coming back was a great thing for this project. I had never ever lost motivation knitting on this project. It's one of my very favorite knits of the year, if not of my entire life. I think it's just a joy to knit this pattern with this gorgeous yarn from Virtual Yarns, and I just am in love with it in every way, and I can't wait to wear it. I've loved the process, but I just fantasize about wearing this sweater like in the fall. I just truly dream about it. I think like, I don't know, do you ever have that with a sweater or with a garment or with an accessory that you just dream of wearing it and like think of yourself in what situations you're going to wear it and what contexts, what your outfits you're going to wear with it. I just constantly, whenever I knit it, I'm dreaming of that because I think it's such a gorgeous pattern and gorgeous design. Before I left, I hadn't worked on it very much, but since I've been home the past couple of days, I've really picked this up and so loved it, been totally inspired by it, and just have a new gusto for it in every way. So this is the second half, or the second side. I had completed the first piece and now I'm on the second piece, and here it is. You can kind of see I've made quite a bit of progress. You can see the beautiful cables design is coming through at the top. It's so much fun to knit. It's so beautiful and simple, and I'm enjoying it even more the second time around, like second side. I can recommend this pattern truly for absolutely anyone. If you know how to knit and purl, you can figure this pattern out easy. It's just a joyful, simple knit. The construction adds a lot of interest and fun in the knitting process, but it's definitely not complicated knit at all, I would say. And it's just so much fun. So I'm loving this Elizabeth I. This is knit in the Virtual Yarns, which is the Starmore Yarn Company yarns, in their Hebridean 2-ply yarn in the Machair colorway, which is just a stunning colorway. As you can see, it's got lots of different beautiful shades, green, and there are reds in there, even little purples, browns, blues. It's just so gorgeous and multidimensional and earthy and lovely, and I love the way this colorway and this yarn kind of work with this pattern. I think I'm really happy with the colorway choice that I made too, because I feel like this pattern is so, like, there's so much shaping in it. It's almost architectural with the beautiful like design and the cable, the drama of the cabled pattern in the front. It's very feminine. It's like hourglass to the max. It's beautiful. The sleeves are gorgeous, which I'm not at the sleeves yet, but they're so beautiful. I'll put a picture of the design here so you can see what I mean. But this yarn, the colorway is just very natural. The colorway is very earthy and green. The green is just, it really looks like how I imagine the Machair to look if you were to put it into a yarn in a colorway. I think that all of the Hebridean yarns look like exactly like their namesakes. Like you can just see, I love the way that they're named and I love the way that they're inspired, and all the colorways are very fitting. Just everything about it, I just love that kind of earthiness with this design together. So I'm really enjoying it, and I have these gorgeous stitch markers from Mitgan, who is a German podcaster, and she also has an Etsy shop, which I will link below. And I love these little lapis lazuli stitch markers. They make the knitting project process so much fun. I think they suit the yarn and the colorway very well as well. So that is what I have. I also have the stitch marker, which shows my progress from I think like 2 days ago. So not a ton of progress, but you can see it feels good to have that little bit. It always feels good when you see like a gap between the progress keeper and your needles. I think that's such a fun feeling. But that is my Elizabeth I pattern. And so the Elizabeth I is a pattern that can be found in the Tudor Roses book by Alice Starmore. It's a gorgeous, beautiful knitting book full of stunning designs, all inspired by women of the Tudor dynasty. And right now, for the whole entire year of 2021, I, along with 2 other podcasters, we're hosting a knit-along, Tudor Roses Cal. The other podcasters who are hosting along with me are Bella of 100 Acre Wool and Sophie of Becca Creations. Both of these podcasters are amazing, and you should definitely go check out their channels. Bella has been working on her Anne Boleyn jacket, which is a breathtaking design and just so gorgeous. She's chosen amazing colorways. Her colorways are like just out of this world gorgeous, and their combination and her choices of them, they suit her so well. And every time I see it come on screen when she shares it on her podcast, I am just blown away at how beautiful it is. So it's really fun to see other people's progress. Also on the Ravelry group, I have a Ravelry group, which is Merryweather Knitting. You can go and join and see what people have made and chat on there. I have to be honest, in the past month, I have not been on Ravelry at all. So I'm way behind. I need to get on there. So I apologize very much if anyone has chatted with me there or posted or anything. I've been really bad about that, but I'm getting back into things now that we're home, kind of slow and steady. But yes, this knit along is so much fun and you should definitely join. It's just a joyful thing to be working on these patterns together for this year. So that's my progress there. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that I can finish this body in the next couple of weeks. I think that I can. I just have to work consistently on it. I'm enjoying it so much, so I think it's not going to be a problem at all. The next thing I want to share with you is my last little knitting project, and I just want to share with you a little update on it. That's my Mitered Square Patchwork Blanket, cozy memories blanket. I've really enjoyed working on this as well. Before I left, I did a couple of squares, and I really enjoyed working on these squares because I was in need of some relaxing, mindless knitting, and I don't know, I knit a few of them. I'm not sure which ones were here last time. I really don't remember, but I think, well, I'll just show you. So I think this one I had showed you already. This was from a pair of socks. This is some Ravelry yarn that's beautiful and it always reminds me of the sunset. I think I talked about that already, but it also reminds me of Georgia O'Keeffe. I definitely spoke about that before, and I love it. This colorway is a little reprise of this one and this one, which is also a Regia colorway that I used for a pair of socks, and it reminds me a lot of kind of like a jungle. I love that. So yeah, that's what I had knit since last time. It was funny, I was just knitting on this project while visiting my mother-in-law's home with my husband Esmeralda, or my parents-in-law. My father also lives there. And I was asking Nick and his mom what their favorite square was. I was like, Nick, what's your favorite square? And then I asked his mom, and both of them said, like, this one and this one. Like, both of them were the same colorway. And I was like, oh my goodness, maybe I need more of those colors, but I'm making this for me. Obviously, it's for like what I like. But it was so funny, both of them said that. Maybe it's like mother, like son. Honestly, I just think I like how they all work together and how they're all kind of like wild and crazy. There's some consistency through this little bit. I really enjoy that. Anyway, this one here, this square right here, it's a little mini that I had, which I really like the colorway. I think it's gorgeous. It's got these kind of plum shades, very beautiful. I really love it. It's kind of more toned down than some of the other colorways in this little blanket so far. This one here is from my strawberry shortcake socks, and this is the Regia Tutti Frutti yarn in the strawberry colorway. I really like it. I think it's so lovely. This was a mini. I need to weave this in, but this is a little mini that was just kind of, it's got purples and peaches. It's a little bit more Regia from this Tutti Frutti because I ran out of this colorway. And then this one here is Wollenwein yarns in her, this is a colorway from like 7 years ago, from a long time ago. And this is called Eva and Lena. And there's Eva and Lena. I feel like I'm mixing up words right now. You get what I mean, I think. But this one is the same as this one down here. I love using these needles as like a pointer, but it's the same here, and I like that consistency throughout. I think it adds something, and I just love this yarn. It's a sock yarn. It's like a merino nylon cashmere. So gorgeous, and I still have the socks that I knit out of this yarn, and I wear them regularly. They need to be darned, but I've not done that. I just wear them honestly all the time, and I just love them. And then I'm halfway through this square, but I ran out of yarn, so I need to find another yarn that I want to finish it with. But I'm really enjoying it, and I had shared that my plan was to kind of do 5 by 5 and make a square like 5 by 5, and then make another square 5 by 5, and then do a big one on each corner, and then make it like kind of 10 by 10 giant. Does that make sense? I think so. That was kind of my plan. I think I'm gonna keep that plan. So I will finish this row, and then I'll do one more row, and then I'll be finished with this first square, and then I'll start another one, I think, with scrap yarn, and then I need to find a good colorway to use. I either want to do it as checkered or I want to do it all one color. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But there's lots of potential. There's really a lot of potential. So I'm excited. I really have enjoyed this project. I really love it. I think it's just the perfect thing to pick up when I don't know what to work on or I don't have much kind of inspiration. You know, sometimes there are those days where it's the end of the day and you're just tired, or you just want something to like mindlessly work on. And on those days I pick up this project and it's perfect for that. So I'm loving it. It's kind of just been a comfort knit for me. And that's all I have. I'm knitting these on also bamboo needles, also Clover needles, I think. No, these are pony needles. And they're a US 2.75 millimeter needles, and I love them. They're very faithful. So that's all I have to share with you knitting wise. I have some acquisitions to share with you, like I mentioned, but I also have another little crafting project to share with you that I've really been enjoying and inspired by. And so I'm going to share that with you now. There are timestamps through this video, so if you want to skip over anything or you want to find something later, you can always click on those timestamps and it'll take you to any part of the video that you need to go. I always put timestamps in, so also you can jump over things if you want. But I was very inspired because I was on Instagram and I saw the most adorable picture of a painted camera. It was just like a camera that's painted. I have a hard time explaining it. If I can find it, I will try to put a picture of it here. And I don't remember the username of the person's account who I saw it from, but I will try to search for it and I will put it in the description box below so you can see. And it was just so cute. It was like a little camera that was just painted, and I clicked on the account and it was an artist who paints like objects. She paints CDs and cameras and she sells them as well. And first I kind of wanted to like buy one, but she said that the cameras were not functional. They were just decorative pieces. And my husband, I've mentioned before, Nick, he's an artist and a musician, but he also loves photography and loves analog photography. And we have quite a number of analog cameras in our home. And just all the time, like we have analog cameras. He loves photographing, you know, like with film, and it's just really something I've learned also to love, and I'm really passionate about now too. It's just so much fun to use that medium. Photos always come out a little bit different, and it's so funny because it's like, you know, there was like a movement when we moved away from that and started going digital that was like, yeah, finally getting away from film, not having to develop film, not having that unpredictability of film and lighting, trying to get away from that. And now it's like we really want that unpredictability so much. We love that. I love the way the photos turn out, and I love learning about photography using film and using kind of analog methods. But I decided that I would paint a couple of cameras, and analog cameras. I think that the cameras that also this artist on Instagram paints and sells are more digital cameras. At least one of the ones I saw was, the main one I think I saw was digital. So I also don't know if she did analog. I don't think that was like a part of it, but I wanted to paint functional cameras and to just use them or give them away as fun kind of little gifts. I think everything can be made cute and beautiful, and I don't know, I just thought it would be a fun project. So I was very inspired by that. And I went ahead and found some cameras, and I even found some very cheap cameras to also practice on and to make on. But for me, it's very important that they're analog and that they're functional, because I do want to use them and to share them with others. I've just done a couple of coats. This is kind of something I'm planning on doing more than I'm doing in the midst of, but the first one I'll share with you is this one here. And this is just a little film camera. It's a very cheap one, very poor quality. But I decided that I wanted to paint it. Actually, because of its kind of poor, cheap quality, it makes it perfect for this exactly purpose that I wanted to use it for. And often these cheap cameras like make wonderful photos and have kind of fun, these cool kind of analog effects that we want them to have. And also the kind of practice, or I don't know, kind of subculture or art of taking photos with analog cameras and kind of just taking them impulsively and just having fun with experimenting with light and the kind of natural, kind of strange, I don't know, distorted kind of qualities that film gives is called, I think, lomography. I don't know, I might be wrong. I'll put the word here. But it's also like a little miniature art movement as well. And so these kind of cameras are often fun to use. And all the cameras I have are very fun to use for that, because you maybe have kind of quirks about them that give them a special kind of texture to their photos and things like that. But this one here, I first primed it with gesso, and I painted it with acrylic paint, just acrylic paint. I painted it. It looks very bright blue on the camera here. But it's definitely more of a lighter blue, and I did lots of different textures of blue, and I had so much fun with this. It was just so fun. I loved creating kind of the texture with the brush, making it really look like it was painted, like it's a crafty thing. Was not too careful about not getting paint on the flash. I think this flash might not even work on this camera, but this camera works itself. It looks almost like there's paint on here, but it's right outside of the border, so it's okay. And here inside this lens, there's no paint, which is very good. This camera's already loaded with film as well, so this is going to go to a friend of mine. I have 3 cameras that I'm painting at the moment, and 2 of them are going to friends of mine who I thought would enjoy or appreciate these kind of fun lomography, if that's even the right word. I might be embarrassing myself. This might be embarrassing for those of you who actually know the word, but I really have enjoyed making this, and it's just cute and fun. I think it's just so adorable, and it was just a really fun project. And you can see the cloud kind of extends over here. It doesn't look as good as I thought it would, but you don't see that when it's open anyway. There it is. It's just kind of a cloudy sky, and it was a really fun, cute project, and I haven't painted in a while, so I really enjoyed painting. Although when we were visiting my family, my grandmother, she is an artist as well. She has lots of gorgeous paintings, and as a child, she always had amazing art projects for us to do, and it was always so much fun. This time she had little tiles for us to paint. Each one of her grandchildren and each one of her family members have a little tile to paint, and then she's going to put it up, all these tiles, which is, I think, such a lovely idea. She did it, or my grandparents did it, I think maybe 10 or more than 10 years ago. Yeah, more than 10 years ago, I think they did it. And those are still up, but some of them have faded because they have them outdoors on their deck. And so she got new ones, and it was really fun to paint. We really enjoyed it. So Nick and I were inspired to kind of take that idea back home with us, and the idea of painting and having time where we just make art, because we sat at my grandmother's table and just painted, and it was so relaxing and so fun and such a great way to chat and just connect while also doing something that was very meditative and calming. So we are going to bring these kind of fun art nights back into our life, where we paint or kind of do little projects like that together. I think it's very romantic and very fun, and so I'm really excited about that. But anyway, I also have primed this one with gesso and painted the first coat on this one. I'm going to do another one. I'm not really happy with this, how it looks right now. You can see I love the texture, but I think it's just not opaque enough. And I think this pink and this gray, I don't really know if I like how that combines. So as you can see, I'm just mildly careful around things. As long as it can take photos that aren't going to be distorted by any kind of paint, I'm fine if it gets a little bit here or there and it's not super clean. That's kind of also the magic of these cameras, I think, that they look so, it just looks like a craft project, but it's a functional camera. I think that's so fun. This one's battery powered, although it is analog. And I had fun. You can see it's a nice zoom, which is really fun. And this one I think is going to be for me, although I might also give this one away. I'm not yet sure. I have film in here already, so I'm going to use up this roll of film at least, but I think I'm going to keep it. I'm wanting it to be kind of a rose-inspired camera with maybe like little flowers or something. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm really loving this fun paint project. I think it's just been a kind of a change of pace and of like a really fun, cute thing to do. So that's all I have to share with you crafting wise. And now I want to share with you some gorgeous, amazing acquisitions that I have from my time in the States. The first thing I want to share with you is really, really special to me and was really like the hugest gift to receive. About, I don't know how long it's been now, but a couple of months ago, my podcasting friend Alexandra of the November Woods podcast started her very own yarn dyeing business. And she has been yarn dyeing for quite some time. I've loved following her journey with yarn dyeing on her podcast because she dyes everything with natural dyes using historic dyeing methods. So lots of botanical dyes, and it's just gorgeous the colorway she gets from plants and from natural materials. I've loved following along with her, and I was so excited when I first read that she would open her own business and her own yarn shop, online yarn shop for her hand-dyed yarn, because she just makes those beautiful colorways. And if you enjoy my podcast, you most definitely will enjoy her podcast. She knits gorgeous, beautiful, elaborate projects. Like she just finished an Alice Starmore pattern, the Irish Moss, which I'm just incredibly amazed by, and it looks beautiful. I'm really almost like I want to cast that project on, but I have a lot of other things to work on, and I even have my own cabled project. But she's also hosting, or she hosted and is hosting still, a knit along called the Heirloom Cable Cal, where people are just knitting beautiful heirloom cable projects. So she just has beautiful things. She also makes simple things and knits with knit socks, and she's kind of on this journey to find the perfect kind of no nylon sock yarn, and she just is so cool and so amazing. And I love all that she makes and does. And I have loved becoming friends with her via podcasting and via Instagram and YouTube. So I was really touched when she wrote me and offered to send me a skein of her yarn. I was really so touched because her yarn is just gorgeous. So she allowed me to choose, and I chose this gorgeous, beautiful skein of yarn. This is the Eucalyptus colorway on her elm base, which is a beautiful DK weight yarn. It's kind of a heavier DK weight. It's beautiful. It's very fluffy, very lofty feeling, also rustic. I think she has only non-superwash yarns in her shop. Actually, I know she has only non-superwash yarns in her shop. You can just feel the beautiful woolly quality of this yarn. It's so lovely. I definitely am so excited to knit with this. And also the colorway is just beautiful. I think Eucalyptus is the perfect name for this colorway. If you look at it, it really reminds me of eucalyptus. And it's been with me on a long journey traveling, so that's why it's a little bit disheveled. It did not look so disheveled when I got it. It was very perfect, but I feel like I've taken it along with me on such a long trip, so that's why. As you can see, there's your beautiful tag, the November Woods Fiber Co. And here you can see also the colorway and the base. So it's the elm base, and this is a 100-gram skein of DK weight yarn, colorway Eucalyptus. It's just so gorgeous. I already have the project in mind that I want to knit this with. Actually, in my mind and in my imagination, this skein of yarn has already been about 4 different projects. But I think that I want to make a little shawlette using this yarn. I'm not quite sure yet. It could change, but I'm really eager to cast it on. So I'm glad I'm sharing it with you here in this skein because I don't know, I might cast it on soon. I might save it for a little while. I'm really I have a little miniature shawlette pattern that I kind of want to design and make myself. As I was working through this other pattern I'm kind of in the process of making, I had so many ideas, and I realized that for this one that I'm making now, I want it to be larger, but I also want to make a smaller also non-fingering weight yarn shawlette or little miniature shawl, just kind of like a little kerchief. And I think this yarn would be perfect for that. I love this colorway. I think that this would be the perfect colorway for me to wear close to my face, you know? It's just so gorgeous. Another thing I really appreciated about the November Woods Fiber Company is that it was packaged plastic free, which is so cool and so unusual. And I was just thrilled to see that. I know it's not easy to do that. I know that that can be a challenge for makers and sellers, but I really appreciated that it was plastic free and it was just gorgeously packaged. I did a little story on my Instagram, kind of opening the box so you can see it on my Instagram. It's saved to my stories, but it was just a joy to behold. And you can see it's like there's like twine holding it. It's so beautiful. So Alexandra, thank you so much for this gift. I can't wait to knit with it and share the results. It's just a beautiful, beautiful yarn and a gorgeous colorway. And it's one that I treasure so much. And I know I'm going to treasure it forever, whatever I make out of it. Alexandra speaks a lot about like the lifespan of wool and yarn and garments. And I remember in a podcast of hers a while ago, she kind of talked about the lifespan from, you know, sheep to being shorn to, I don't know exactly how she said it, but she described it so beautifully, to how it's then spun into yarn, and then how that's a process, and then how knitting is a process and kind of like a mini lifespan within the long lifespan of the piece of the material. And then it's in a garment or an accessory, and then that's worn, and that has its own kind of lifespan. And then at some point it kind of starts to disintegrate or kind of be worn out, and maybe it's a very long time, maybe it's generations, but at some point then it might, you know, return to the earth, because these natural materials tend to do that. And so it'll then kind of start the process of that life cycle over. And I loved thinking about that, and I love that concept. So yeah, as I knit with this and as I wear that, I just think it's so special to be connected in that lifespan of this skein of yarn, that Alexandra dyed it and held it, and that I get to wear it and knit with it first and then wear it, and then just have it for that, and maybe pass it down, hopefully pass it on. I think that's something I love about the gift of being hand makers and hand knitters, that we can pass things on too and kind of keep them as heirloom pieces. So I think that's something so special also to think about when you're knitting with special yarns that are hand dyed or hand spun, or even just from small mills, that you're connecting to that whole entire life cycle in this really cool, special way. I think that means so much to me. So I think every time I knit with hand dyed or hand made yarn, that just adds a wonderful dimension to it. She also gifted me these gorgeous Progress Keeper and stitch marker. I guess Progress Keepers can also be stitch markers, but she makes them as well herself, and I just always loved seeing them, which is this gorgeous turquoise. Look at these beautiful stones. They're so precious and so beautiful. So I'm so excited to have these on my work. I know that these are going to bring me so much joy as I work on projects with them. So thank you so much, Alexandra. And look how beautiful this is. Look how gorgeously made that is. Hope you can see it's going to focus, but look at that. I don't know if you can tell, but it's beautifully twisted. It's so lovely. The next acquisition I have to share with you was another very special one from another fellow podcaster who I've really adored watching and whose podcast I enjoy so much. And that is Ashley of the Paper Crane Yarns hand dyeing shop on Etsy, and she dyes such gorgeous colorways of all kinds. Her range of colorways is so huge. I think like it was so hard to choose colorways because she had so many gorgeous ones, and it's so funny, in the end I chose two that are almost kind of similar, but she is just so talented and so lovely, and I love watching her podcast. She's got such a calming, wonderful presence. She's also really fun and just feels like you're catching up with a friend whenever you watch her podcast. So you should definitely check her podcast out. So I was really excited to receive this yarn and plan projects with it as well. So I'm going to share with you what I got from Paper Crane Yarns. And Paper Crane Yarns was also so gorgeously packaged. I loved it. It came in a floral bag, which I also shared on Instagram, which you can see, which was so beautiful and so fun. And it was just so lovingly packaged. She even sent in the package a paper crane. Look at this gorgeous paper crane. I am so impressed by this. I origami or like paper folding of any kind, I remember I've tried so many times in my life to do, and I don't know if I just don't have the patience or the skill, or my brain just isn't like, I don't have the intelligence to like figure it out, but I've always been so fascinated by it, and I think it's so cool. So I was really excited to see this really cute paper crane. I folded it in half, I realized a second ago. But look at this gorgeous paper crane. Isn't that so cute? This is just adorable. I was so amazed that there was a paper crane in the paper crane yarns package. So this is going to be sitting and joining us in our home, because I just think origami is so cool and so much fun. But she sent me some gorgeous yarn. Look at this. I chose these two skeins, gorgeous, gorgeous skeins. One of them is going to be a gift for a friend of mine who is a knitter and who I think is really going to appreciate it. She loves warm colors, and it's hard to choose yarn for another knitter, but I really wanted to do it to give her a skein, and I thought, I don't think that she'll dislike this one. She'll find something for it. And I always think if this colorway isn't exactly your taste, you can always knit something as a gift for someone, but I'm quite sure she'll like this colorway. I hope that I'm right. But this is the one I chose for my friend, although I would easily keep this colorway. It's so beautiful. And this colorway is called Empress. It's on 2-ply merino fingering. It's 100 gram skein, and look at that gorgeous label. It's so pretty. It's like stamped. It's so beautiful. Paper crane yarns, it says, and this colorway is just a beautiful tonal gold, like almost turmeric-y goldy color. I just really love it, and I think it's so lustrous. This merino yarn is so soft and so squishy, and really lustrous is the word that I would use for it. So I'm really excited about this, and I know my friend, I'm really sure she's gonna love it, because how could you not love that? Look at that beautiful colorway. I would also wear this colorway like any day. Look at that gorgeous, just so gorgeous. The next one that I have to share with you is this colorway, which this is called Soleil, and it is a 75-25 merino nylon fingering weight yarn, and I thought this Soleil colorway was so beautiful. I have a couple of ideas for this skein of yarn. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. I have like a couple of spare skeins and bits and bobs left over of different yarns, which I've been thinking about making another So Faded with, and this colorway would fit with those, and I think this one would also be a really nice kind of addition to those. So I've considered that. That's when I bought it, I kind of thought of that first, but honestly, I also could imagine these being a gorgeous cabled pair of socks or a lacy pair of socks. You can see the colorway a little bit better. It's also tonal gold, but it has little specks here and there of kind of red and kind of more darker shades. I really think there's so much dimension to this yarn, and it would definitely make a wonderful addition to a faded sweater, like a So Faded. But I can also just see that I love like tonal yarns with like cables and lace. I've never made a pair myself, but I've seen many photos, and I think like that kind of a pair of socks would be so fitting for autumn, like August, September, October. It would just be the perfect pair of socks to knit. So yeah, I'm kind of conflicted about it, but I'm going to decide soon, because I want to cast that on as well. So this is really a really gorgeous colorway. I'm so excited to knit with and to cast on with. And then Ashley also sent this beautiful little gift edition of a mini skein, which blew my mind when I saw it, because I think I've never seen like hand-dyed tweed yarn before. This is tweed, I think. Yes. But it's so gorgeous, and it looks like, I love this colorway. It fits perfectly with the other two colorways, these golden tones, which I'm so like feeling those golden tones right now. I think it's like August has struck, and for me, like the sunflowers are out. I don't know, it's just that kind of time for those colors. It's kind of fading into these golds, and then it's going to go to reds. The autumn is going to come before winter. But anyway, this is the beautiful little mini that she sent, and I am so in love with it. Look how beautiful the colorway is, and look how cool it looks with these gorgeous little tweedy flecks. I think this is such a special mini skein, and this one is definitely, I think, going to go into my So Faded. I think this would be so cool in like mixed and faded in with other yarns with that little pop of tweed, I think is really something special. So I'm in love with this. I think it's so cute and such a special gift. So Ashley, thank you so much for this. This was such a gift and so special to also get some of your beautiful hand-dyed yarn. And if you've not watched the Paper Crane Yarns podcast, you also definitely need to check it out. You definitely enjoy it. Ashley's just such a wonderful person, and I don't know, it just always feels so fun to catch up with her on her podcast. Check those two podcasters out. Since being home, actually the whole entire time I was gone, and since I've been home, I've hardly watched any knitting podcasts. I have so much to catch up on, and I'm really excited about it this week. I just can't wait for my free time. Nick is actually going to be super busy this week. He's doing all kinds of projects for a music project that he's working on. So I've got a couple of evenings alone, and you better believe that I'm going to be watching and catching up with all my favorite knitting podcasters this whole week. I can't wait. So that's all I have for you today. I wanted to give you an update and tell you about my trip, but this video has gotten so long and I've talked about so many things that I think I'm going to leave it off here. And if you're interested in hearing an update personal and I'll tell about my trip, I'll do it in my next video. Then I'll just talk about that because I feel like there's so much that I want to tell you and share with you. But now I actually have to work soon, and before I work I need to get some things set up for Esmeralda. So I'm going to let you go. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week full of happy knitting. If you would like, you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Merryweather Knitting. I would love to connect with you there. It's always fun to get inspiration on Instagram, like these cameras or all kinds of a number of knitting projects, almost a dangerous amount of inspiration sometimes there. But you can also find me on Ravelry. My Ravelry username is gabriellak, and the Ravelry group for this podcast is Merryweather Knitting. Like I said, I've not been very active in it, but I'm going to try to be more active. I also really have tried to keep projects updated on my Ravelry page because I love when other people do that. So I'm going to continue to try to be faithful in that. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, leave a comment letting me know what you're working on. I love to hear what you're up to, and leaving a like always means so much to me. You can also subscribe if you're interested, if you enjoyed the podcast. I can't wait to see you again next week for more knitting chat. So take care. Bye.